Every single day of your life, your vision expands. Now, this is exactly the same as like a tree growing or a fish getting bigger or the universe expanding or the earth getting close to the sun. Every single day, whether you want it or not, you grow. And that's the soul's purpose of your existence, is that you grow. So sometimes this black circle on the inside here that I'm pointing to, sometimes that's the old you. And you have to reinvent yourself because you've got philosophies, you've got ideas, you've got belief patterns you've inherited, you've got from mum and dad, you've got from your MBA or whatever you've done, you've got your belief patterns, and those things were coping with the old you. So when you were shrunk down, like when you had your vision, oh, my biggest vision in life was to be, uh, uh, well, something tiny, small like that. And you thought, well, all I have to care about is where do I get my next sex? Where do I have my next drink? And then you go, well, I'd like to get married and I'd like to have a family. And then you go, well, I'd like to, get a better job and I'd like to be the CEO or I'd like to start my own business. And all the time this thing is expanding, and when it stops expanding it's called growing old. So kind of like we're here to talk about not growing old, you know what I mean? You might grow old physically and you can delay that a little bit, but you don't have to grow old mentally. You don't have to become a really cruddy old person who's decided to go to green fields or to sea change or something ridiculous notion that their work isn't their life, that they haven't found what they love. And they when when you're living on soul purpose, when you're living on mission, you wake up and you just can't wait to bounce out of bed and get some exercise because it helps you do your job. It helps you do what you do, and your job isn't important because of self-satisfaction. If you go to your work for self-satisfaction, you're going to be the most unhappy person on earth. You go to your work to satisfy others. That's the most important thing. You ask yourself every single day, how can I improve this, what I do? Whether it's delivering the milk, or whether it's flying an aeroplane, or whether it's working for a boss, or whether it's not working for a boss. You ask yourself, how can I deliver this and satisfy others better? How can I make what they want happen? And you might think, well, what they want to happen isn't good enough, or it isn't what I want to happen, or it isn't as exponential, isn't as powerful as I can. But just imagine this. Imagine you brought up in Germany and you come to Australia and you work in an Australian company. Australian companies don't work on the same efficiency as a German company. There's no way you can go into an Australian company with the same headspace that you use in a German company. German companies are full of efficiency and effectiveness and high profile strategies and high thing. Australian companies are more organic. And people still get the job done at the end of the year. Don't you worry about that. They still put their heart and soul into what they do, just like in Germany. It's just the process seems a little more laid back, or a little more thing. So you can't go one country to another country and start beating people up and try and get personally satisfied. Because if your personal satisfaction is the mission of your work, you are lost in space. You are into a disaster, personal disaster that cannot be remedied by any sorts of therapy or any sorts of vision quest or any Chris Walker-y stuff. We have to flip the mission of going to work to deliver satisfaction to others. And that is satisfying. Now, if you make that the focus of your life, I promise something will, a switch flicks over, and you become like not this self-obsessed, self-worried, self-nervous, depressive, a bad version of yourself. You become a great version of yourself because you will go through hell on high on earth to deliver satisfaction to others. And even if the world, the sun comes up in the west and goes down in the east, you'll still go, my job is to deliver satisfaction. And yep, their version of satisfaction isn't the optimum I can deliver. I still haven't found clients who want things as good as I can produce them. But you know what? I will satisfy the ones I have because I'm thankful for the universe for bringing me what I've got. Because those people deliver me income and those people deliver me growth. And therefore, I'm going to deliver what they want. I am going to deliver satisfaction to my clients. And that's what you say to yourself day in, day out, 24/7. And if there's a dissatisfied client, it's not their fault. Don't get into the blame game that the client's stupid and you're smart. That is just going to completely sabotage whatever you do. The client is absolute genius. The client knows what they want, and it isn't the same as you. There's definitely no way that a client can have the same satisfaction level as you. You have, by the definition of service delivery, by the definition of a healer, by the definition of a leader, your level of satisfaction is far above the level of your clients and your employees and your team. That's the definition of you. So don't be frustrated or annoyed or angry or depressed or whatever. Deliver what they want. Find out what they want and deliver it. And deliver it well. And deliver it exactly how they want it and when they want it and everything about that. So what happens is, as you will deliver what is maybe sometimes a little compromised in terms of your standards grow. Now, that's a funny thing, that if you can deliver satisfaction to people, it's a feedback system. They get satisfied, they get thankful, they give you gratitude. When you get gratitude, it's a feedback loop. It's a short term. It's like having a good cup of coffee or a good meal. There's a satisfaction that comes from it just in the doing of it. And this feedback loop starts to engage you in what's called heart and soul. Because the feedback loop reminds you that your personal mission in going to work is to satisfy others, not your team, not your company, clients. Now, if you want to be bipolar in your work, you try and get satisfied, or you try and satisfy the people around you. No, you satisfy the client, and that's where this work comes in. Now, healing is the instantaneous recognition that crisis is a blessing. So let's say on this little charty thing here, let's say, for example, you've drawn your VIP diagram and all of a sudden your finances go to crap. And you go, boo-hoo, I'm in a crisis. Oh, what a disaster. But are you looking at the same time and recognizing that your social world has expanded? Now look, healing is the instantaneous recognition that crisis is a blessing. Nobody's going to be stupid enough to say to you or your ego that losing money is a good thing. But however, what you need to recognize is there are gives and takes in your life. There are 7 areas of life, and sometimes, for example, your career goes down, but your relationship, not on the chart, but anyway, your relationship goes boom. Boom, out it goes, way out. And so all of a sudden you go, oh, I'm so happy with my relationship, I'm so pissed off about my career. But that's not healing. Healing is the instantaneous recognition that crisis is a blessing. Sometimes your financials goes down to teach you to be thankful for what you've got rather than be greedy. Now, the universe doesn't have morals and ethics, so don't think greedy is a bad thing or greedy is a good thing. That's just complete delusion. The universe doesn't care about that. What it cares about is consciousness. Consciousness means what you appreciate grows. Now, if you can be thankful for your past, the whole of your past, every single thing, the rapes, pillages and plunders and the losses and the gains and the worst and the best of it, if you can be thankful for the whole of your past, you heal your past. Now, healing your past means you turn up in the present. Now, if you have a family and you have kids and you still haven't healed the past, if you're angry with someone from yesterday, if you're angry with someone from your childhood, if you still haven't forgiven somebody, if you're still in love with somebody, if you're still attached to somebody who's not even on this planet, if you've got unhealed business, unfinished business in the past, that is going to affect your presence. And if it affects your presence, it's going to affect the people who are present around you. And if it affects the people who are present around you, it'll affect them in this way. It splits them in half. It splits them down the middle into bipolar. And they become polarized. They become polarized between what you like about yourself in the past and what you don't like about yourself in the past. One, if you've got 2 kids, one goes one way, one goes the other. To bring all that together in unity consciousness, to bring it into heart and soul, which is what we're all about here. You need to go back into every single moment of your past and ask yourself this question. Ask yourself this great question. Is there any unfinished business? Am I carrying baggage from the past? Am I carrying one single morsel of resentment? Am I carrying one single morsel of infatuation where I think somebody's better than me? If you are, then there's work to be done. There's work to be done in finding how does that crisis become a blessing. How did that crisis, how did that bad thing bless you? How did you become a stronger, more mission, more visionary, more heart-filled, more soul-driven, more deep, more self-authentic? How did you become a better version of yourself through that drama? And whatever you invent, whatever you come up with, make it good, because it's got to stick. It's got to stick through thick and thin, because you'll face that situation in the future that you faced in the past, and you need to be able to walk right past it in the future saying, I've dealt with this. I've dealt with this once before. So we're not talking about dealing with the past with some scratchy little joke or some scratchy little affirmation or some scratchy little piece of rhetoric. We're talking about going back and saying, if that ever happens again, I'll just walk right past, because it won't matter. I'll see that it's a blessing immediately. And that's called neuro-linguistic programming. That is called neuroplasticity. That is called hammering a new belief into your mind about something that happened in the past. And if there's something in your past that isn't finished, if you still think about an ex-partner and you think, oh, they were so good, that's not finished, because they were good and bad. If you think about a parent and you go, oh, I wish they were alive, you're not remembering the shit that they dished up. There's two sides to every human being, and to love a person, you have to see both sides of it. The only way to move on from the past is to love it. That's why healing, which is love, is the instantaneous recognition that crisis, the lack of love, is a blessing, love, and therefore you become present in the present. If you turn up at home, your kids don't have to polarize themselves into your unfinished business. They get their own unfinished business. That means that nothing affects the child more than the unlived life of the parent. If the parent hasn't fulfilled, if the parent is still scratching into the past, oh, it was so good when I lived here, or it was so fantastic when I had that job, or it was so fantastic when I went to church. They're living in a dimension of their life where their little bubble was way small. And that's okay. What that person's saying is true. When they were smaller, those things were fantastic. But when they get bigger, those things aren't fantastic anymore. They just don't work. I find it so funny that I left relationship off the 7 areas of life. I don't know why that happened. I apologize. But anyway, let's keep going. So next thing you know, what we're going to say is that when something happens, it's a crisis, and you go, oh, I've got no friends, or you go, oh, I've got the worst job on earth. You've got to the first trick is to go, where did the energy go? Now you will find it if you look around. You'll find it in family, you'll find it in mental, you'll find it in social engagement, you'll find it in your health, you'll find it in your family, you'll find it in a bit of extra cash in the bank, and all of a sudden, and spiritual means that you got a sort of time for yourself, time to explore the universe, and you go, oh, poor me, my career's bad. But you've got to kind of like immediately go, nothing's ever missing, it changed in form, it went somewhere, and you need to go find that somewhere. Then you simply say, thank you for what it is. Now, what do I do about the career? And now we go from this. We say, my technology of managing my career in the past is no longer valid. So I need to grow. Now, if you are heart and soul driven, you become obsessed with learning. And there is no situation on earth, not one single crisis. Remember, we're talking about healing here. There's not one crisis that isn't an education program. It's the university of life. And you go, what is it teaching me? Well, here's what it's teaching you. Firstly, nobody treats you worse than you treat yourself. So if your career is treating you like crap, it's because you're treating yourself like crap. You're not valuing your past. You're not valuing your credential. You're not valuing the work you do. You're not valuing what the client's receiving. And that's the first step. First step is to go back and revalue what you're contributing to your client's satisfaction and to value that. Because self-obsession, going to yoga and doing all these things, self-obsession teaches you what? That you're the most important person on earth. And you take that to your work and go, well, I'm not satisfied, therefore the work is shit. No. You go and say the client is satisfied. What does the client get from being satisfied? It gets certain values, it gets certain valences, it gets certain happiness, it gets certain fulfillment, and that it impacts their children and impacts their employees and impacts their community and impacts the world. And so you can actually start building your career back out by saying, nobody treats me worse than I treat myself. And therefore nobody treats me better than I treat myself. If your work isn't going the way you want it, it's because you're approaching it with a complete self-obsessed mindset. You're not thankful. And thankfulness is the healing of all things. So if you can find gratitude for the work you've got, you will bring your work back out to love to. As soon as you do, you grow. And guess what? You're dissatisfied again. So you feel uncomfortable and you go, oh, my paradigm, and I need to go to another Anthony Robbins seminar, or oh, my paradigm isn't working for me. Rubbish. Your paradigm is perfect. It just isn't suitable for your new level of vision. So your paradigm, how you see things, needs to expand. And that means you need to reinvent yourself. Now, I teach you in the Back on Track program, I teach you how to reinvent yourself daily. And so this move out to a bigger paradigm does not have to happen with such pain and such suffering that it triggers depression and sadness and gross incompetence and turns you into a bad version of you. What it needs to do is every single day you do the Super 6, and all you do every single day, even if you don't know your vision's expanding, you expand your paradigm. You expand your mental evolution, you expand your cellular evolution, you expand your environmental evolution, you expand your prioritization evolution, you expand, now you catch up with vision, and you see the new vision appear, and you catch up with self-talk. You start talking to yourself as a bigger piece of the universe. And this is the evolution of your life. This is Chris Walker. Have a great day. Bye for now.